Hello, welcome back to Kiai Gaming. My name is Alex. Today I'm going to take a look at the Masked Men expansion in a little bit more detail. So as always, I'm going to talk about building warbands based on the progression of core set to expansion. So all the cards I'm going to add today to the Masked Men are going to be cards from the starter set. The idea being that if you have the starter set, then you can simply add cards from that to the Masked Men expansion to make new warbands. Okay, so first up, let's take a look at the individual cards. So here we have Masahiro Warrior Monk, who is a hero. Technically in the game it's called a samurai hero. He costs 6 points, and it says, before each battle, give Masahiro the Prayer and Devotion skill card. So he starts each battle, with this card, Prayer and Devotion, which says reroll all the dice of a test. The new result applies instead, and it applies once per battle. So this could really kind of save you if there's a critical roll that you need to make in the, at some point in the game. You use this card, you roll the dice, you get all blanks or all fumbles or whatever. So you use this card, you re-roll the dice, and you get the result that you want. So Masahiro has the same stats as a samurai hero from the core set. 5 strike, 5 agility, 5 on the damage roll, 5 wits, 5 honor, and 3 activations. So basically you're paying an extra point to get the Prayer and Devotion skill card. And that might be worth it to you, it might not. You might want to, maybe go for a samurai hero instead, in which case you don't get the card automatically. But you can still have it in your fate deck, so you might draw it. So, it's up to you. Do you want to guarantee to start with that card, or do you need the points for something else? In any case, Masahiro is a fine hero. He's no worse in combat than a samurai hero. Okay, next we have the Masked Man, who is a commoner, costs 1 point, and has the same stats as a spearman in the core set. So he has 3 strike, 3 agility, 3 damage, 3 on the test of wits, 3 test of honor, and 1 activation. So this is a flavor thing. This is a straight up replacement for a spearman, maybe a single spearman in the core set. If you're running a single spearman, then you can swap it out with a Masked Man for the flavor aspect. But in terms of stats, they are identical. There's no difference between this and a normal spearman. Okay, and finally for the cards in this expansion, we have the Masked Men group. Now these guys are commoners. They cost 2 points, and they are a group, so they have the group symbol. And they also have the same abilities here as pretty much every other group in Test of Honor. If there's a full group of them, left, then they get +1 on their honor roll, and if there's 2 or 3 of them left, then they get +1 to their strike roll. Now what makes these guys particularly interesting is the 4 dice on their damage roll, which is 1 more than you would get for experienced spearmen or loyal spearman groups. These 2 stats, wits and honor, are kind of a hybrid of the spearman groups. The wit stat is the same as loyal spearman, and the honor stat is the same as experienced spearmen. So it's kind of a mix of the 2. But they do get an extra dice on their damage roll. So these guys aren't so much an upgrade to the spearman groups, they're a side grade to the spearman groups. So you can add them into your warband and kind of see what happens basically. I mean, the extra damage is nice, but are these going to make a difference? Is the dice that you don't get on one of these stats going to make a difference to how your warband plays? So this is a good thing to a good card, a good set of models to experiment with. Okay, so now let's take a look at some warbands that you can make with the Masked Man expansion. Now, as it stands here, the Masked Man expansion, as it comes out of the box, is 14 points. We've got Masahiro, the 2 Masked Men, and the 3 Masked Men groups. So what could we add to this to make it a 24-point warband, which is the general accepted standard in Test of Honor? Well, one thing you could do is simply add some samurai. So here we have a devoted samurai, a wise samurai, and a sergeant. And these make up 24 points, 4, 4, and 2. And there you go, you've got 24 points. A nice, easy way to build this up to 24. Another thing you could do is add some range, because as you can see, this is extremely melee focused so far. So what we can do is take away a Masked Man, and then simply add a Sergeant of Archery, Experienced Bowman, Loyal Bowman, and a Single Bowman. And now we've taken away 1 point, but we've added 11, which makes 24 points. And now we have some range as well as some melee. Of course, you don't have to go with that single bowman if you think that looks a bit out of place. You could take away that bowman and simply add maybe a sergeant or something, and you still got the range package, and then you've got the melee package as well. So it's up to you how you kind of go about that. Alternatively, if you want to go in complete contrast to the ranged idea, then you can go really heavy on the melee. So here I've got the masked men, 2 masked men, Masahiro and the 3 masked men groups, together with a musician, a banner bearer, experienced spearman, loyal spearman, and another loyal spearman. And you can see I'm mixing up the colours now, because when you're making your own warband, these colours don't actually matter. That's just for the starter set. So yeah, you could really go heavy on the melee aspect. Here we have a musician who says if the musician is within 12 inches when a commoner checks for loss of nerve, then receive +1 die to the roll. So he helps with tests of honor. And you also have a banner bearer, which says if the banner bearer is within 6 inches when a friendly commoner attempts to avoid an attack, add +1 die to the roll. So when you have this many commoners on the table, putting the banner bearer in a good location might mean that a lot of these guys will get that bonus. Finally, for the warband ideas, you could also really go heavy on the elite side of the warband. So here I only have Masahiro and the 2 masked men groups from the expansion, and I've also got a sergeant, a musician, a banner bearer, a wise samurai, and a devoted samurai. So I'm not quite sure how this would work in practice, but there's certainly a lot of AoE effects, area of effects in this warband that could affect other commoners, and this commoner affects that commoner, and this one affects that one, and all that kind of stuff. So you could really get tricksy with it, and get loads of those AoE effects all comboing with each other at the same time to kind of make the warband more than the sum of its parts. Okay, finally I just want to talk about some skill cards that stand out for me in this expansion, starting with Coordinated Attack, which says if the samurai is within 6 inches when a friendly spearman group is making a strike roll, their weapon bonus is triggered if they roll 4 or more swords. So if you were making, for example, that elite group that I just talked about, where you have all the AoE effects, all the area of effect things going on, and comboing off each other and stuff, then this will make your samurai, even more of a utility piece. It'll make them, it'll kind of get them to join in with all that AoE madness. You basically position the samurai within 6 inches of a spearman group, and then when they make the strike roll, then they trigger their crit roll, as a lot of people call it in the community. They trigger their weapon bonus on 4 swords, not on 5 swords. So it adds even more AoE madness to the warband. So yeah, it's a fun addition to the Fate deck, and especially if you are going for that kind of that ability combo kind of style. Okay, the second card out of 3 that I want to look at here is Pure Weapon, which says +1 die on strike roll. Discard this card if the samurai cuts down a commoner, includes members of groups. And it's an ongoing card, just like Coordinated Attack, so it keeps happening during the game. You don't turn it over as such. So this basically makes your samurai, your hero, or any card, any model you're playing with the samurai symbol, it makes them a bit more single-minded. Basically, it makes them better against other samurai and other heroes, but they lose the bonus if they cut down a commoner. So you have to rely more on things like test of wits. If the commoner is the nearest model, you have to take a test of wits to maybe attack a nearby samurai instead. So it makes them, as I said, more single-minded, more focused on taking out heroes and taking out samurai. Although it does also make them more predictable as well, because your opponent's going to know that if you want to keep that bonus, you have to go after their samurai and their samurai hero. Okay, the last card I want to talk about is Single-Minded, which is an ongoing card, just like the other 2 I was talking about, and it says the samurai can choose not to avoid enemy attacks. Now, normally in Test of Honor, if a model is attacked and they have an action available to them that they haven't used, they have to spend that action to avoid the attack if the strike roll, if the initial strike roll from the opponent succeeds. But this card lets your samurai choose not to avoid that attack. And it's particularly handy if this is equipped on your samurai hero, because it shifts that emphasis from the dodge roll over to the honor roll instead. Now, if a samurai hero would be cut down, they can instead take a test of honor and If the test of honor succeeds, then they simply get an injury card, which does, give them a penalty on one of their stats, but they are still in the game. However, if they fail that test of honor, then they are cut down and removed from the game. So you can choose not to burn an action in order to dodge, and instead place that over to the honor roll and put the risk on the honor roll. So if the enemy does, if the enemy does roll 3 swords or more, and your samurai could potentially be cut down, then you can take that test of honor and hope to succeed on it and simply get that injury card, which means that your samurai hero would stay in the game, even though they have that penalty. So this kind of shows like the hidden depth that test of honor has. It's not all about simply like, I move my guys here, I roll, you have to use your action to defend, blah, 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 blah. This changes things a little bit, and I really like that. Okay, so that was a quick, more up-close look at the Masked Men expansion. As always, the best way to get a feel for how everything plays on the table is to actually get models to the table and play a game of Test of Honor. Experiment, make different types of warbands, and just see what works, what fits your playing style, and what works better for you on the table. Okay, please consider subscribing if you haven't already, and if you do subscribe, then be sure to click the notification icon up next to the subscribe button as well, so that YouTube actually notifies you when new content goes live on the channel, because sometimes it actually doesn't, and that's a problem with YouTube, but sometimes it doesn't tell you when new stuff goes live. So if you do subscribe, then be sure to click the notification button as well. Okay, that's all for now. Thanks very much for watching, and until next time, see ya.